Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're putting our daily routines under the absolute microscope, and I can pretty much guarantee it's going to change how you look at the clock. We're about to confront a wildly uncomfortable reality, that massive, often completely hidden gap between what we claim to care about and how we actually spend our days. We all think we know ourselves pretty well, right? But the way we spend our time often tells a completely different story. So what do you actually value? Seriously, take just a few seconds right now to mentally list out your core values. If you're like most of us, your list probably includes some really beautiful, high-minded priorities. You probably claim to prioritize things like your physical health, your family, your creative passions, maybe your personal growth. These are the things we tell ourselves and totally tell others that we build our lives around. Okay, let's dive into this because we really need to hold up a mirror to our daily lives here. On one hand, we have those claimed values from our idealized self-image, family, health, growth. But on the other hand, we have the harsh reality of our actual habits. When we finally get some free time, what do we actually do? We find ourselves endlessly scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows we don't even really like, or just ruminating on negative thoughts. There is a profound, undeniable disconnect between the person we desperately want to be and the person our daily habits prove that we actually are. And you have to listen to the sheer power of this quote from the source material. Anytime you live against your beliefs, it makes you sick as hell. This was spoken by a man named Alan, who's an AA member, and honestly, it perfectly establishes the stakes here. This isn't just about some minor poor time management. It is about massive cognitive dissonance. When you claim to value health, but you sit on the couch all evening, or you say you value family, but you just stare at your phone during dinner, that mismatch creates this lingering, low-grade dissatisfaction in your life. It quite literally makes you sick of yourself. Section 1. The audit, the free time tracker. So to cure this sickness, we have to perform an audit. This is a genuinely sobering auditing exercise designed specifically to cut through our own illusions and our own self-deception. Here's how it works. You start at 8 p.m. or 6 p.m., which is the time a lot of us get home and finally have our quote-unquote free time, and you log your daily activities in strict hourly increments right up until 10 p.m. It completely forces us to stop guessing and provides the cold, undeniable math of how we actually spend our lives. If you track this for just a week or two, it will definitively reveal the gap between what you claim your values are and what you actually do. 86,400. That's it. That is the exact number of seconds you get in a day. No more, no less. You can't save them in a bank, you certainly can't borrow them from tomorrow, and honestly, time management is actually a bit of a myth because you can't manage time at all. It just flows whether you like it or not. This number represents the finite, totally unyielding nature of what the ancient Greeks called chronos. Which brings us to a fascinating distinction. You see, the ancient Greeks actually had two concepts for time. The first is chronos, clock time. It's measurable, it's inevitable, and it strictly drives entropy. We are all prisoners of the ticking clock. But the second one is kairos, which is often translated as God's time or the perfect moment of experience. Kairos is flow. It's when you're fully present and just living completely meaningfully. Now, while we obviously can't escape chronos, tracking our clock time and eliminating all those garbage distractions is the absolute first step to unlocking those beautiful, unmeasurable moments of kairos. Section 2. The disconnect. Why we waste time. So, if we know our values and we fully know our time is finite, why in the world do we fail this time audit so miserably? Why do we constantly waste our free hours? To understand this psychological trap, we really need to look at the famous Eisenhower matrix, and specifically Quadrant 4. This is the zone of tasks that are not important and not urgent. This is the procrastinator's paradise, pure and simple. It's social media, aimless web browsing, and trivial time wasters. When things get tough or we just feel overwhelmed by our real goals, this quadrant is exactly where we go to hide, effectively throwing away our precious time. And this brilliantly illustrates the constant battle happening inside your brain. Your rational self wants to do the important things, right? But then the instant gratification monkey grabs the wheel, steering you straight into Quadrant 4 to just play around and waste time. You stay there, totally paralyzed, until finally a deadline approaches and the panic monster wakes up. The panic monster scares the absolute daylights out of the monkey, forcing you into this frenzy of last-minute, wildly stressful work. It's an exhausting, terrible cycle that completely bypasses your actual values. But why is the monkey win so often? Well, it really comes down to these unconscious inner conflicts that drive our procrastination. We distract ourselves primarily to avoid uncomfortable feelings. We suffer from this intense fear of failure or perfectionism, thinking, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm just not going to start. We lack confidence. Ultimately, our ego uses these silly distractions to protect us, deliberately choosing short-term comfort over any long-term impact. We are literally protecting ourselves from the hard work of personal growth. Section 3. The realignment, closing the gap. So, how do we fix this? How do we defeat the monkey, tame the monster, and actually start living our values? The source material introduces a really powerful, real-time thought-stopping technique called the RADAR method. RADAR stands for reflect, describe, respond. Step 1, reflect. Just pause and assess your current state without any judgment. Just notice that urge to procrastinate. Step 2, describe. Put it into words neutrally. Something like, I am avoiding this task because I feel overwhelmed. And step 3, respond. Now you take a thoughtful, value-based action. This simple 3-step framework acts like a mental emergency brake, allowing you to interrupt bad time habits the exact moment they start. So the crucial point is exactly how you design that response. Because to build better time habits, you actually don't need massive amounts of willpower. That's a huge misconception. You just need to keep your new habits stupidly small. Want to exercise? Commit to literally just 1 push-up. Action inspires effort. Next, use what's called implementation intentions. Tell yourself, when it is 4 p.m., then I will do 1 push-up. You can also do something called habit stacking by linking a new, tiny habit to an existing routine you already have, like tidying the kitchen while the coffee brews. Finally, physically rehearse your plan to remove the initial friction of getting started. All of these tools ultimately bring us to this incredibly vital comparison, doing versus being. We live in a world that is completely obsessed with doing, action, productivity, crushing tasks, getting things done. But true productivity, the kind that actually leads to a good, fulfilling life, is about ensuring your doing is perfectly aligned with your being, your core values, your integrity, your very existence. Because think about it, if you are incredibly efficient at doing the completely wrong things, you are still going to feel empty at the end of the day. Section 4. Budgeting your life. As we bring this explainer to a close, I want you to consider one final, really powerful metaphor for time tracking. We easily understand this concept when it comes to money, right? But it applies exactly the same way to the hours in our day. The quote goes, "Through your budget, you have an accurate sense of your values, whether you admit them or not." Just like financial tracking ruthlessly reveals your real priorities, the way you spend your free hours is the ultimate, undeniable receipt of what you truly care about. You can claim to value learning all you want, but if your time budget shows 0 hours reading and 20 hours gaming, well, the budget simply doesn't lie. Which leaves us with this final, genuinely provocative question. If your time tracker was published on the front page of the internet today, what would the world think you value? Would they see the person you want to be, or would they see the person your habits dictate? I challenge you to print out a free time tracker today. Actually audit your own life from 6 to 10 p.m. And finally, take the steps to close the gap between your values and your actions. Thanks for watching, and start tracking.